Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. Accidents happen. Without the right coverage from the right insurance company, damage to your automobile can be a real financial hit. That's why Kentuckians appreciate the competitive rates and personal service they get from Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When the unexpected happens, count on us to help you get back on the road. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. It's fall. We're rolling right along here. It's getting cold and kind of I have frost in the car in the morning.
I don't have to start parking under my carport again.
Yeah. I as the dad, I actually park my car out of the garage.
What a
taking
giver.
care of my family because I love them.
What a giver.
But those mornings when everything's frosted over, I go, maybe we need to swap cars around and all the things.
Do you ever notice that a mom can do something for her children 800 times and a dad does it once and he's like, so you're all welcome for being warm when you get in your car. I took the hit. Dads are notorious for that.
There's a GIF that you can send and it's Macho Man, like Randy Savage, like getting the crowd excited and his wife's really proud. And, and I send it to my wife all the time. Every time I do anything good, I send it to her like, yeah, I did the dishes,
My dad's a big weekend breakfast guy. Like he'll make this giant spread and we'll be in the living room drinking coffee, talking to mom, and he's like, I can't hear because I'm trying to feed this family. And my mom's like, are you kidding me? As she stayed home and fed us our entire life. And he's like, some of us are trying to keep this house fed. And I'm like, oh, I forgot.
Everybody be starving though.
Let's all give Dad a round of applause for breakfast.
Yeah, that's me. I did the dishes today, so where's my thank you?
Also, you said you were going to make fun of me to start this, so yes. I attacked you first. I did a little
Okay, so the reason I was going to make fun of you, it is seasonal. It's very seasonal, but you have a sweater on today for our listeners.
Yeah, they can't see me.
You kind of look like a piece of candy corn.
It is like a fall-colored sweater, and to be quite frank, it looks dead up like a piece of candy corn.
And I'm not going to lie, I didn't really put it all together until you said it out loud that you look like a piece of candy corn.
I have another sweater that I've been told looks like a pie chart. It's like and so now that I have a candy corn one, my brother and my sister, the younger ones, are just gonna be very excited to be like, oh, good, another random sweater you're gonna wear to church, and we're gonna be like, you look like candy.
Yeah.
Brings up a good question.
Yeah.
How do we feel about candy corn?
No.
You're out on candy corn too?
I don't like it.
My husband likes candy corn. My husband doesn't like sweets that much, but he will eat candy corn every year. He's just like, oh, it's fall, so let's eat candy corn. But I'm like, why? And he's like, I don't know. So I don't think it's good.
The only person in my house. All right, so I have everybody in my house will eat almost anything, but one person.
Carter.
Okay? My son Carter is picky. So he's a picky
he's like
kid.
The star of your family on this podcast. Yeah, Carter always gets the shout out.
I keep bringing him because he's peculiar. So he gets tough. He's got his particular kid. So,
man's got his own pot of food, and eats all of the aunt's green beans.
Yeah, he's really picky, but he's the only one in the house, of course, that loves candy corn. So we get him a bag of candy corn, and he just crushes that thing in 2 days, and I don't get it.
Isn't it just colored sugar?
Yeah, you'd think.
And it's
sugar,
mushy?
I'd like it, but I just don't. It's not a thing.
I'm not digging it.
Yeah, but your sweater's lovely. I didn't mean
to
make fun of it, but yeah, you do kind of look like a piece of candy corn.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah. So.
I accept that. Speaking of fall candies, quick question. Do you like Reese's Cups?
Reese's Cups are the greatest candy that's on earth.
Agreed. Yeah. This might be the most agreeable we've ever been on a podcast. Out on candy corn and on Reese's Cups. Is a pumpkin Reese's Cup better than a regular Reese's Cup?
The best Reese's Cup is the Easter egg Reese's Cup.
Agreed.
By peanut butter to chocolate ratio.
100%.
100% is perfect. The Christmas tree one's is strong, and then the pumpkin ones are good. But I like a good old fashioned one. They're good. But the best, without a doubt, is the Easter egg Reese's Cup.
I think if I rank them, I'm Easter egg, pumpkin, tree.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because of the ratio.
The ratio. There's something.
Quite frankly, I'm getting more out of the two round shapes instead of the Christmas tree.
I don't know what it is. It's just the egg is where it's at. It's a 2-biter. You can get it down in 2 shots, and it's great. So
get you a shot of Reese's.
A shot of Reese's Cup. No, but it's really good. So yeah, candy corn, no. So next podcast, you need to be dressed up as a Reese cup, and we can talk about that.
Okay. I'm gonna end this candy thing immediately after today. But
Yeah.
do you know what I'm gonna think every time I put on the sweater though? I'm gonna be like, I look like a piece of candy corn.
You look like a piece of candy corn.
Awesome. Okay, how are we gonna transition this? Do you know what is also something you should be thinking about in the fall?
No, I don't. What would that be?
You should be thinking about farm safety.
Yes.
And there's many realms of farm safety.
Yes.
And one of those is the Raising Hope initiative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also that happens in the fall is a lot of people buy and sell farms.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to do with the Ag Finance Corporation.
Wow.
And our guest today can talk about both.
Yes, he can. So, yeah, Brandon's been around forever. He's been part of a lot of different things. He's ag to policy side to working for the department. I mean, FFA. He's got all kinds of great stories. So he was a great chat today, and our listeners, some will know who he is, and he also a little shout out to Dale Dobson, which I think everyone in agriculture in Kentucky knows. So, but yeah, I think great chat today, and I think everybody will really like it.
All right, so if you do not know Brandon Reed, you are about to get to. Without further ado, I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
Let's get rural. You're going to see the whole place, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got the tour.
every bit of it.
Usually I just go up to that one floor and go to the boardroom.
I mean, we do have a chili cook-off upstairs, so if you want to come up and eat lunch, I think it's left. I don't know.
Renee has officially been hit by the Matt Hilton scheduling curse. So we have a lot of office stuff. We have like Thanksgiving Day. We have a food truck day. These kind of
all
things.
the days.
I schedule a shoot, and usually I'm way ahead of it. And then it gets announced. It's just a horrible knack.
All of a sudden there's a day.
So I scheduled this because of just the time and everything. And she's like, "That's chili day."
That's chili.
And I said, "Man, I scheduled to bring a chili and everything." And he was like, "Wow,
you got Brandon coming on chili day."
Yeah. So you can bring some chili. Down.
Noodles, no noodles.
Great question. So my family is from Louisiana. I am born and raised in Kentucky. Family's from Louisiana. We are weird. We're not really chili people in Louisiana. Everything has rice. It's like a gumbo, jambalaya, etouffee. So my mom has had a pre-mixed chili my whole life. So when I married into a Kentucky family, I was like, teach me your chili.
Yeah.
Y'all, I committed hard. And I don't commit hard to many things, but I am noodles in chili, beans in chili, and I dip a peanut butter sandwich in my chili. And that's the most central Kentucky thing I think I could do. And here we are.
My family's torn. So I grew up, it's a hamburger, spaghetti chili, but
100%.
very water-based.
Okay.
And so I can't stand it. So Dad and I are house divided. So I'm a very thick hamburger, beans, onions, peppers.
Yeah.
Hot, and I'm over here. He's over here. I mean, he'll pour 3 gallons of water in the chili.
Yeah.
And,
I like mine thicker.
But everybody in my area, I call it hamburger soup. But it's actually called, I looked it up. It's called Kentucky chili.
Oh.
And it's actually a recipe. And everybody in my area almost loves their chili that way. And I can't do it. So.
Yeah.
But my kids, my wife, they all love it. I'll eat it. I love it. It's good. It tastes good. I like that thick, hot chili. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I do. And I think it's because we're etouffee, stew-based people.
Yeah.
I want something thicker. Otherwise, it's soup.
Yeah.
So my chili is a little thicker. Yeah, they were all laughing at me upstairs.
He makes delicious chili. It's just for me, I like the other style. So, in Texas, though, I don't even think they put beans. I think it's just hamburger or meat. And a sauce, more or less.
Yeah.
So
spoiler upstairs. I think they think theirs is beef, but it's 100% a pound of ground pork. So
I got you.
I don't know if any of them have figured it out yet. I didn't throw deer in it. I thought about it, but I just did pork. I just tossed them in a little different.
Yeah. So I've ruined her chili day.
I did snag a bowl, so if I have an awkward pause, it's just me trying to digest my poor chili.
Dale and Brandon ruined chili day. Gotcha.
Yeah, great podcast start, guys. Just ruin chili day.
Ruin chili day.
Big plans here, but we appreciate you being here. We we have you on Farm to Frankfurt also. If you're a YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. There with Kyle and Mr. Melton. So we want to get to know you a little bit. Tell us, the listeners, a little about yourself. Where are you from? You kind of alluded a little bit of that, but where are you from, and what's your connection to agriculture? How long have you been a part of that?
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having us here today, and it's been a true blessing. I born and raised Hodgeville, Kentucky. Been there all my life. still live on the family farm. It's a 5th generation family farm. I'm an only child growing up there. We have beef cattle. We lease out our row crops. Of course, back in the day, in the early 90s, we still had the tobacco base and still did all that and raised hay. But right now, it's pretty much we lease out our row crops, and we have about 30, 40 head of cattle. So Dad and I kind of operate the farm. Love it. Married to my beautiful bride, Olivia. We've been married for 15 years. We have 3 wonderful children. Chloe is 14. She started high school this year. In a couple of days, she's going to put on her FFA jacket for the first time.
Oh,
so
my
it's kind of a
gosh.
moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
Allie is in 5th grade and loving it. Wilkin just started 1st grade. They go to actually Greene County schools. And then my wife, she is a student aid teacher down there in Greene County. And so she helps out down there. So, but we just live on the family farm. And I just was, born and raised, grew up in that culture. My dad actually worked. Retired from the Kentucky Department of Agriculture for 31 years, worked weights and measures. And I come from a public service family, more or less. One half of my family was all educators. The other half, I had a grandpa that served as a circuit court clerk for 35 years, had an uncle that was a sheriff, had an aunt with some pretrial services. So I kind of grew up in a public service house. Our dinner table when we was eating chili was always involved around government, what was on the news. I just kind of was brought up that way. So that just just kind of pushed me forward. Loved agriculture. Loved my grandparents lived about an acre away, and then Mom and Dad's house, and now I built about an acre away from their house. So we're all there on the family farm. So that's where I was born and raised, and love it every minute of it. And I always tell people I was born in Hodgeville, Kentucky. That's where our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, was born. He was the 3rd log cabin on the right. I'm the 4th log cabin on the right. So
that's so
Very
cool.
nice.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay, so this seems like a really dumb statement after making a really cool Lincoln thing. You live on Eastern and your kids go to school and your wife works on Central time?
Absolutely.
How frustrating is that? Or do you just decide your phone's locked on Central?
No, LaRue County's right on the line.
Right.
I started working at the Hart County Circuit Clerk's office as a summer job. Which is Central Time Zone. So I kind of grew up. My other grandparents lived in Hart County, and so I kind of just grew up the 2 time zones. So it really never bothered me. But actually, in the morning, it's they leave the house at 6:45. They get down there about 6:45. So
that's so funny, yeah.
And so going, when I would go to work, having that summer job, and it kind of turned into a full-time job after high school, but. I would leave the house, had to be there, 8 o'clock. I would leave my house about 8:30. I would get there at 8. So they called me Marty McFly. I didn't have the DeLorean or anything, but I went back in time. Now in the afternoon, that's when it gets rough. So,
yeah, it's the other way. That's a real bummer.
Yeah. So work would end at 4. I would leave at 4, get home at 5:30. So that's kind of where it's rough. So
we went to the future, or the past to the future. Which one are we at now?
Yeah. Where are we now? Marty McFly, I love that.
Yeah, I guess your phone has to go bananas. Just walk around your house, maybe. Yeah.
I just keep it on my time. I just now in my calendar, if I know I'm going to a Central Time Zone event, I'll put in there. I'll keep it on my time, but I'll put Central. I need to be there at 5 o'clock Central. That means I leave. Usually it's an hour and a half.
Right.
I'll leave my house at basically that time and get there at that time. So. But you get used to it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my in-laws always laugh because I'm from Central Time, obviously. I'm Princeton. And now I live in Springfield, which is far enough from the line. My phone's not jumping around. But I'm very good at calculating how late we can leave on a Friday and how much extra my husband's very good at it, figuring out how much we can get done before we head to Princeton for the weekend because we get the hour going that way. But, man, that Sunday evening on the way back, especially after the time change this week.
Oh, yeah.
We are driving back and we feel like it's 11 o'clock at night and it's, 7.
So, growing up, being from the farm, living on the farm, having roots in the farm, Dad would sit at the table and he was, he would, basically recount the days of him being an FFA, and he would basically say the creed at the table. And that's just something they got ingrained with me. And so when I had the chance to, start high school, I couldn't wait to put on that blue corduroy jacket, say the FFA creed. I just fell in love with the organization, all it brought to the table, national convention. Just got through ending, and we had Caroline Groth, which was a national FA officer, and she has had such a wonderful year, just a wonderful spirit. And now my daughter, she's fixing to put on that jacket for the first time. But I just loved, had an ag teacher that said, "You get out of FFA what you put into it," that's basically everything in life. So I just went 110 miles an hour, everything I could, every event I could go to. But had the blessing of being the chapter FFA president. My junior year was the Lincoln Trail regional president. My senior year, and thanks to God, I was the state FFA president 99 2000, and that was the year that that the FFA National Convention moved from Kansas City, Missouri, to Louisville, Kentucky for the first time.
Wow!
So we got to my officer team got to host that, and I was actually a national delegate that prior year with the past state officer team to Kansas City. So I was a delegate in Kansas City and a delegate in Louisville. And just to see that organization come to Louisville, of course, we had it for 7 years. Then it went to Indy. Then we got it back for a little while, and that went back to Indy. I think they announced at this convention that it's going to stay in Indy to 2040.
Gotcha.
And then they'll relook at some things. But just a wonderful youth organization. Everything that I'm doing today, I basically owe to that organization, what's bestowed in me. And it's just been a blessing. And now, my grandpa had his state FFA degree. My dad had his state FFA degree. I went and got mine. And, just to see now, Chloe, 14 years old, she's fixing to put on the jacket. I got 2 kids behind her. It's surreal,
That's incredible.
Just,
We talk about generational and this generational farming and generational different pieces. And I think FFA is one of those that it's a generational organization. And there's a moment that just feels really impactful. So talk to me, though, when we first met, I was at Governor's Office of Ag Policy at the time, now Kentucky Office of Ag Policy. But you were not just Brandon Reed, you were Representative Brandon Reed. So talk to us, what was the transition point from all things agriculture and some of that public service to the big step in what some people would say is one of the biggest offices of public service, which is leading an actual area in a district for the state?
Absolutely. So studied political science at University of Kentucky, worked for the court system for about 10 years, administrative office of the courts. I worked for Fayette County, Hart County, and LaRue County there in their local circuit clerk's offices. And then also was hired by the court system as a field rep. So I would go around the state and train court clerks on court procedures and I would do record audits. And then that just kind of, like I said before, I was born in a public service family, started summer work in the court system and just kind of fell in love with it. And then, that just kind of, the more you got involved, the more you got to see government from the inside and see what things need to be fixed, what things needs to be changed, what needs to be invested in. That just kind of stirred something in me to serve, more. And I will touch just briefly. I had a kind of like a little time out in life. So while working at the circuit clerk's office in LaRue County, come off the bench with the judge, was taking some paperwork back to a filing office, tripped over a paper box, hit my head on a filing cabinet. I woke up a month later at Fraser Rehab in Louisville, Kentucky. So traumatic brain injury. It took me the next 3 years so that happened in 2007 to 2010, how to relearn how to read, write, walk all over again. And so, but, thanks to God and his grace and his, mercy upon my life and just friends and family coming around me, basically when I woke up, my brain had been reset, severe amnesia. I was like 26 years old at the time, woke up, I thought I was in kindergarten. I was naming all my kindergarten class members, like where are they at? So I had to go through a lot of therapy, vision therapy, auditory therapy, vocational therapy, physical therapy, you name the therapy. I've been to the therapies. But just, trying to get back and, just everybody just pouring into you and just remembering everything, your memory coming back. And, you basically, you have to get to the point where your life, like, God hasn't brought me this far. He's not done with me. But you personally have to acknowledge that. And so, starting in 2010, I met my wife. We got married and started having a family. And we was working on some business things and doing some things on the farm. And I wasn't working in the court system, but there was something inside me, a seed that was planted at some point that said, you need to serve your fellow man. I'm not done with you. Just because this happened in your life doesn't mean you're done. And so in 2016, we ran for state representative, and the district then was LaRue, Greene, and Marion County. Had to run, against an incumbent and knocked a lot of doors. Had to raise money, had to get my message out there, and but was successful. That next morning I slept in a little bit, and then woke up, and we just. But if it wasn't for my wife and my kids, my mom and dad, my grandparents, all believe in me, my family and friends, people. It takes a lot to put a campaign on. But you have to know what you want. I seen Kentucky. I knew what she could be. I knew that, she needed me to be a small part of that, piece of that pie just to help move her along. And so we was able to win, and I was able to serve that district. And that year in 2017, that's when the House had flipped. And then that first week we passed about 5 bills that changed Kentucky forever and never looked back. Was proud to serve 8 years, 4 terms, and was able to move up and chair of some committees, but loved being the vice chairman of the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. I served under Leader Rudy now. Stephen Rudy was the Appropriations Revenue Chair, and then he moved on to be floor leader. And then Jason Petrie out of Todd County, he came in 2021 and, worked on 5 budgets, crafting those budgets. Everything that goes into those documents is huge for that's the policy document with the financial backing that moves Kentucky forward. And it just loved representing the people, the phone calls, the letters, taking their voice to Frankfort. It was a true blessing. But did that for 8 years and loved every minute of it, and seen some good policy passed, worked on agriculture policy, some appropriations and revenue policy. So it was a blessing.
There's so many pieces to dive into there.
I was about to say, yeah.
I never ever want to. I don't think I've ever heard you get to tell your story. I know I've had someone tell me your story, but it hits different when you tell it yourself. And I always forget the time frame of when that accident happened to when you and your wife got married and the family and everything. And so I think it's a testament of faith, but a testament of surround yourself with the right people and believe in the one that makes it all happen and gives you those people. And so I think your story is just absolutely incredible. And I think people that know your family, you're a family of servants to the community and different things. So that just felt natural. So knowing that middle piece, I think really gives people that understanding of that extra oomph that really gave you the nod to get in there and want to do it. And I think we felt it, whether it was when I was here at Farm Bureau, when I was with Ag Development, you were probably the most attended of all of our Ag Development Board meetings, which is funny now that the whole full circle moment that you're with that group now. And so I think it's really neat to see. But what I'm going to ask, and Matt, you jump in anytime, but I'm curious on the appropriation side. I think a lot of people hear a guy that now works for the Department of Ag, and they're like, oh, he's an ag guy. He's always been an ag guy, but he served on Ag Committee. And that's all great. But talk about an eye-opening, how helpful that was to get the full perspective of Kentucky. It's very easy to accidentally silo ourselves in ag. I mean, you saw everything if you're on that committee. How mind-boggling was that once you were on there and really working through it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the committees in Frankfort are truly important. They work on their subject matters and they move policy forward. But appropriations and revenue, that is the one committee. It's kind of a job within a job. It takes about 2 years to craft a budget. And of course, we have a biennial budget. We do that every 2 years. So that process, I'll tell you that the process starts. So this is an odd year. They meet for 30 days. They let out the end of March. The budgets process would start, in April or May of this year, preparing for the next year. And then you're always looking at, what decisions were made. What does that look like? Where do we need to go? What do we need to change? But that really is the true policy document of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Constitutionally, the General Assembly, the one thing that they're demanded to do, mandated by the Constitution, is to pass a budget. So that's the one thing they have to do. So every decision that's made in all the other committees all has to go back to that one document. Is there money to do it? Is there no money to do it? And that's the questions that you have to ask. So, when we came in 2017, that first year, 2018, our budget reserve trust fund was a negative 5 days. That was scary.
That is scary.
So we had and we also said, we got to put some good policy in place. We need to start paying our pension system. We need to start paying off our debts. We need to start investing in good investments. And, we really didn't have much money to do that. So you have to make, strategic cuts. And then you have to make sure that your liabilities that you have, that they're paid for, like our pension system. And then we also, that year in 2018, we started reducing taxes, income tax. One of the most important bills that I think I worked on was House Bill 8. We started a few years ago, basically through triggers, reducing the income tax. And that went from 6% down to 5%, starting in January, be down to 3.5%. That's huge. That's more money back in your all's pockets. But we do that systematically to make sure that the economy can absorb that decision. Kansas, a few years ago, they did it all at once, and it was a disaster. So we're doing an incremental trigger scenarios so the economy can absorb those changes, and that's what it's done. So if we don't meet those triggers, then we don't drop down the next year. If we meet those triggers, the General Assembly comes in and says, okay, it's time to drop down another point or a half a point. It gives them options. That's putting more money back in everybody's pockets. They usually go out and they spend that money, and that puts more money back in the economy. But when I looked at my passion in agriculture and coming from the judicial system, I quickly realized when I got to Frankfort, that's great. That passion's great. I try to stay in my lane. But all those decisions basically is a result of that one document, the appropriations revenue budget and the revenue bill. And so, Chairman Rudy at the time said, hey, we're going to be working on the budget after session every night. If you want to come out and we'll go through the document, more the merrier. Well, I actually listened and I showed up night after night and just learned, sit in the back of the room and just learned as they went through the budget. And before you know it, I was able to be on the Appropriations Revenue Committee. I became vice chair of that committee in 2019, and then just loved it every minute after that. So you get to be in the room. When you work on the budget and you're in the leadership role of vice chair or a chair of preparations, you actually get to be on the conference committee. So that's House leadership, Senate leadership, A&R chair and vice chair on both sides. They basically are the ones that come into a room at the end of the session. They make the final decision. So there's 138 members. When you're one of 15 or 16 members in the room at the very end making those final decisions, it's pretty unique. It's pretty special. So,
Very cool. Yeah. So, how did you transition into Kentucky Department of Agriculture, and how'd you get here?
So there was a seed planted a long time ago. So the Master Settlement Agreement was in 1998. Of course, we didn't have odd sessions back then. So in 2000, House Bill 611 basically it's established the Kentucky Agriculture Development Fund, which we have now, the Agriculture Development Board. But as the state FFA president, at the time, Paul Patton was the governor, and he made the state FFA president had a seat on his Family Farm Commission. So it was the Governor's Commission on Family Farms. And there was about 30 stakeholders that came together to basically guide, talk about, influence what became House Bill 611. And the Family Farm Commission stayed around to about 2007. But really, when the Ag Development Board came on, that was the purpose of that commission. And so that seed was planted as a young, 19-year-old, 18-year-old at the time. I was sitting in the room with all the commodity groups, the governor of Kentucky, the commissioner of agriculture, all these people. I didn't know anything, but like years later, when I was sitting in the back of the room when they was doing the budget, I paid attention, I listened, and then when the time came, I was able to have a seat at the table. So we're celebrating 25 years this year. The silver anniversary of the Ag Development Board, Ag Finance Corporation, the Ag Development Fund, over $800 million in investments. I think this month we will hit almost over $200 million in ag finance, investments. And so that's huge for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Last 25 years, so many strategic investments have been made that's moved Kentucky agriculture forward down so many roads. But like you said earlier, so, having that, sitting in on that when that was first created at a young age, that planted a seed at the time. Fast forward, being involved in the budget process as a legislator, I knew what the fund did. I knew how much it meant to local communities, what it meant for Kentucky. So, when they called the Ag Development Board meetings and Ag Finance Board meetings, the meeting notice went out. I showed up, and you learn a lot. So for 8 years, I sit on the Tobacco Oversight Committee in Frankfort. That's the backside. That's one reason why that program is so crucial and isn't become a national model, is because of the amount of oversight that we have in Kentucky. The board makes the decisions, the ag office, carries it out, and then the board oversees those decisions on the backside. And then, every year, the General Assembly has to appropriate that tobacco money to that program. So that oversight is crucial. So sitting on the tobacco oversight, going to the board meetings, and just I kind of made a joke when I took the seat. I said, I guess if you come to the room and sit in the back of the room enough, I guess they move you up to the front desk. I don't know. So, but when Commissioner Shell, when he won Commissioner of Agriculture, he gave me a call and said, Brandon, I know you're a legislator. I know you love doing it, but I really would like if you could come over to Department of Agriculture and help me out with the executive director for Kentucky Office of Ag Policy. And it was truly an answer to the prayer. That's one of the jobs that I really wanted to do when I seen it was created, what it could do, what it has done, sitting on the back of oversight, coming to the meetings and seeing the fruition of all that. When he made that call, it was a hard decision, but my family and I, we prayed about it. In 8 years in the legislature, I had a list of things that I want to accomplish. I checked them all off. Timing is everything. Commissioner Shell has a passion for agriculture that's second to none. I love helping him out. I love the Office of Ag Policy, what it does. So I made that decision, and on January 16th of last year, I came over and was the executive director. Have a wonderful team in place, a wonderful legacy in place, and it's just a blessing to be a part of that legacy. But that's what was based around the decision.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know I bring up working there, and it's because I always tell people I sold seed, and I got 2 bachelor's degrees, and I did these internships. But I'm telling you what, when you want to talk about learning and shaking the hands of the who's who in Kentucky agriculture, being at an ag development board meeting does that. And that doesn't make me special for being a staffer. That just shows you how welcoming and open the board members are. They care. They want to meet you. They want to talk to you. They want to understand the projects. And so it's so funny. Right before we started recording, we were talking about some of these projects that are the same. That we've had some that are same type, reoccurring, different things that are the same from when I was there years ago. But then there's some that are brand new, and I think that's a lot of the fun part of that office and what it does. It's just an interesting group. It's a fun group, and then I want to give you a second because I can't remember for the life of me, Matt, if we've talked Ag Finance Corporation on this podcast before, but as someone who is a participant and a benefactor of the Ag Finance Corporation now, we bought our farm and we're able to do the partnership with that loan program. And I tell people, I sit on some of these national organizations. I'm like you. If you show up enough, sometimes they stick you at the front table. And so I was at a meeting just 2 weeks ago in D.C., and somebody asked what the beginning farmer's biggest struggles are when it comes to acquiring land. And I said, well, for a lot of other states, we're very blessed in Kentucky, and maybe it's not to the dollar amount that some of these biggest farms are selling for. But for somebody like me, for a poultry operator, for some of these guys that are buying a little smaller incremental pieces of land, I do have a loan program that I can utilize with an auction versus an FSA one that right now you can't. So you realize right after that meeting's over, some of these states walk up and they're like, well, wait a second, what pot of money are you talking about? And how the heck does that even work? And how on earth could you have that low of an interest rate? So now I'm finding myself in D.C. with a group of guys from Montana explaining the Ag Finance Corporation. So I just think it's a unique thing. And those that know Warren Beeler or know some of our past executive directors, maybe they've heard this spiel a million times, but I'm telling you, there are so many people my age that still haven't. And so I always, if you don't care, I would love for you to explain again and explain the impact that being a substantial long-standing account could do for the state.
Absolutely. I'll give you a little history about it. So the Ag Finance Corporation actually started back in the mid 80s, like 1983, 84. It was a one-time project program that got put over with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. It was designed to bring down some federal money at the time. And then once that was accomplished, it kind of just went away a little bit. When they did House Bill 611, they moved that language over in House Bill 611 because when you go through legislation, you start when the drafters start going through legislation, everything that has to do with that subject matter starts popping up. So that was actually drawn over to House Bill 611, but it wasn't utilized. In about 2003, 2004, they looked at it, they noticed it, and they was able to bring it to light, and they moved it from the Department of Agriculture over back to the Governor's Office of Ag Policy, and then that kind of started the Ag Finance Corporation. And the Ag Development Board, they moved some money over to the Ag Finance Corporation. It's an interest-bearing account. They start giving out loans with programs and initiatives by the board. They create the Ag Finance Board, so there's 2 boards now. And so every month, just like the Ag Development Board, the Ag Finance Board meets. And basically what they do, they didn't want to be in competition with the other banks in the community. So what they basically work with participation. So you would go to your local lender and you'd say, hey, I want to buy a farm, I want to buy a chicken house, whatever the case may be. And that local lender will then partner with Ag Finance. We have a $250,000 max, or half of the project up to $250,000. We have several categories. And our biggest category is the beginning farmer loan. It's about 70% of our portfolio. But that's when that lending institution will come up. They'll partner with us. Say like they have an 8% interest rate right now. It's $1 million loan. They'll partner with us for $250,000 at 2.75% interest rate. They get to blend that rate, gets that interest rate down to 5 or 6%. And that's a huge blessing over the 15 or 30 years for that farmer. I mean, just last month, last month, we had about 20 loans at just over $4 million. Next Friday, we'll meet again. We have 22 loans at $4.8 million. Some of those loan recipients are 18 and 19 years old, getting out of high school. It's a true blessing. I mean, it's changing the landscape. In fact, I think it's keeping our Kentucky average farmer age down, where they said 10 years ago it would go up. It's actually keeping it down. I think a lot of that has to do with that opportunity of younger farmers getting in and having that opportunity. And you're right. It's a national model. You being a part of it, knowing about it when when we're other parts, we're talking to individuals. Other states are kind of jealous of what we have in place. Now, there's 46 states that have Methstone agreement. They could all have that option. Kentucky, though, they had vision, and now we're seeing the fruition of that vision. The National Association of Finance Lenders, Bill McCloskey, is actually the national president. He was last year and this year. He loves bragging about our program, and he loves going to those functions. They was in Iowa this year. I think they're going to Arkansas next year. But they're just like, man, how can you all do that? And he just says, this is what we have in place. We do it every month. We do it well, and our farmers know about it, and our partners in the lending institutions, they take advantage of it. We have now we have 4 loan managers. Last year when I came in, we had 2. Now we have 4. That's how popular the program is. Every year, they do seminars with our lenders across Kentucky. We'll do 6 seminars. We'll probably have 30 or 40, lenders in that room each time that we do it. They know our product. They know what it does. They love it. We love them. And we're not in competition with them. I think that was the secret to the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's a big win-win to me. I think when you talk Ag Development Board, you talk, tobacco settlement agreement, a lot of people just think that county cost share program, CAPE. And I don't want to say that has been an astronomically phenomenal program. It's done so much. I know there's like the hay barn stat and the working facilities. I mean, horticulture high tunnels, you pick it. We have anything you think Kentucky farmers have diversified out of tobacco in. There's a large understanding that a lot of their infrastructure has probably come from those cost share dollars. But when it comes to that next big step for the next generation to make that big purchase, I think the Ag Finance Corporation is the one that's going to really lead off the story. And so I don't want to belittle at all what CAPE has done, but I think that Ag Finance Corporation program is really neat. So, but we have been using you guys all day today, and I'm so thankful you were in here earlier. Dale Dobson, I have not said I've always wanted one, but I have watched a lot of people get a challenge coin, and I have never had the chance to get one. And so
I've got 2.
Okay, well,
just to rub it in.
Brag much.
Yeah.
But I got one today. So tell us, what the heck is a challenge coin? What are we talking about today? What are we talking about just in agriculture when it comes to safety?
So, Dale Dobson, another good LaRue County boy, he's been in farm safety, for a while. He started working in Kentucky Department of Agriculture in 1998. Then Commissioner Billy Ray Smith, seeing what he was doing out in the communities, went to some of his seminars, basically made the decision, we need that here at KDA. So he brought him in, and Dale was going around and, did farmer safety prevention. At the time, I think when Dale was hired, there was about 60 to 70 farm deaths across Kentucky. Now that number every year is below 20, sometimes below 12 or 10. All of that has to do with the vision that Dale Dobson had for that program and what it can do. Basically getting first responders together with farmers, having those conversations. And then that program has just excelled. It's become a national model itself. Dale has gone around all across the nation, basically teaching farm safety and what all that means. But around 2019, they started getting a new serious trend of farmer suicide. And it was actually higher than the veteran suicide rate at the time. And so Dale came to me, and we were just brainstorming at the time. I was in the legislature. And we were just trying to brainstorm some resources that become available to bring awareness to farmer suicide prevention, farmer appreciation. So in 2019, with the help of Dale, we basically passed House Current Resolution 62, which set in statute Farmer Appreciation Day, Farmer Suicide Awareness. And then that basically allowed us to springboard to the next step. So in 2020, we started putting some money behind the initiative. At the time, $500,000 each fiscal year. We did that for 2 budget cycles. And then last year, we was able to secure $1 million each year. And then 2025, this last session, we actually moved everything to the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, renamed it, gave it its own division, Raising Hope Initiative. Dale, through help of many individuals, Dr. Cheryl Witt, for one, they come up with, it's hard to have that conversation with someone about, their health and suicide prevention. Farmers, how they are. They really don't like having those conversations. But, if they can come to an event and get, some screening done, their blood pressure taken, something like that. If, Dale was around individuals that, at the, Challenge Coins has the premise of that military marker and, the brotherhood and the honor that came with that when you gave someone a coin. So he just basically mirrored that over into the Challenge Coin Initiative. A lot of schools, thanks to Kentucky Farm Bureau and Farm Bureau chapters across Kentucky, they have partnered with FFA chapters and initiatives. Now, there's, I think, over 25,000 coins that have been made all across Kentucky. Now, Dale, when he walks up to you, he gives you a handshake. He gives you a promise. And makes you have that promise. And I just saw you go through that procedure a while ago. And, it's intense. It's serious. He's looking in the eye. He's having a serious conversation with you. And when you take his coin, you take that promise. And on the coin, has initiatives like, 988 hotline, which is very important. If anybody has any trouble, call 988. There's individuals there that can help you out, but you are appreciated. How many times during the day do we hear that we are appreciated? Or, how many times a day do we hear that, you did this wrong, you did this right, you could do this better, but you are appreciated. And just having that conversation, having this conversation that we're having now, thank you all so much for doing this, because I guarantee you we'll make this podcast, it'll go out, someone will hear it, they'll hear different things, but they're like, you know what? I do need to talk to someone. I am going through trouble right now. I do need to reach out. They'll either reach out to a friend or call the hotline. When we did that 2019 Farm Appreciation Day and kind of kicked off this initiative, there was literally, we did it at the Capitol, there was literally someone sitting in the stands that day that reached out to someone, at KDA and said, hey, listen, I'm going through a hard time right now. What resources do you have? I want to talk to somebody.
Wow.
And that literally saved a life. Dale was telling me coming up today, because I'm always kind of, he always knows that I love it. I love what he does. I love the program that's been put in place. But there's been 19 lives that has saved through suicide prevention through this program that has been documented. That's 19 people that still have, they're still working. They're still with their family. They're still contributing to society. They haven't erased themselves from this earth. They're still moving forward. That's huge. That's a huge initiative. And hopefully, somebody that listens to this podcast can say, you know what? I need help. I need to reach out to somebody.
Yeah, I've always appreciated Dale's passion and creativity, actually. Speaking to other programs, I've seen multiple Miss Kentucky's in grain bins getting dug out of them. So he thinks of creative ways to do it. This is a simple gesture that I've got to be a part of. My other guys have been a part of, and you got to have a guy that has a lot of passion. I think with talking earlier, he was thinking about retiring. He kind of got sucked back in to keep this on, huh?
Commissioner Shell is very passionate about agriculture. He's very passionate about this program. That's very contagious. So we're keeping Dale around for a while. Dale and I, his son, we went to school together. I've been around Dale. I'm gonna tell a little joke. It's funny if that's okay. How I know Dale. I was in the FFA. Dale would come to our. This is before he worked for KDA. He would come to the chapter and do safety events for us and things. And he's like, "Hey, I need some help on Saturday. I'm doing a farmer safety event." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'll help." And a couple other kids help. And you all know me. I mean, I'm sitting here in the studio, but I was born with CP, cerebral palsy, so I walk a little bit differently. And I think I walk fine because I don't see myself walk. You all see the different side, so I'm fine. You all had to put up with it. But anyway, so Dale had me underneath, we was acting like victims. So he had me underneath. At the time I think it was a bush hog. And he had groups come through. So there's like 20 or 30 first responders and farmers that would come through, and he would, go to this event and this try and keep on moving down the road. And then the next group would come along. Well, he would come and I was sitting there underneath the bush hog, and then that group was walking away. And then so the next group, it would be a while. So I was going to take a break. So I got up underneath of it and started walking. Well, one of the farmers that just got through walking away, he turned around and started yelling, "Dale, Dale, Dale. This boy's hurt. He's really hurt."
Oh, no.
And so Dale turned around, looked, and he's like, "Well, he shouldn't have gone underneath the bush hog." So,
it was an opportunity to give a lesson. And he took it.
No, that's Brandon. He was born that way. I know he knows that everybody else knows, but you're getting used to it. So that goes back a long. That's probably, I don't know, 95, 96, I guess. But But we've always had a good relationship. Dale always wants to help people. He loves on people. He just has a passion for farm safety and health and suicide prevention and it's saving lives. But when Commissioner Shell came in office and we came in there, he's seen what Dale had put in place, and he's like, you know what, all we need to do is just pour some gasoline on this fire, and that's what we've done.
Excellent, very good, yeah.
Yeah, I just I can't imagine the pride you guys feel that have been a part of this since the 90s doing some of these things. There's a full staff. It's not just Dale and an intern hitting the road anymore. Right. It's not just Dale going to the county FFA chapter and grabbing some kids to come, be actors for him. I mean, this is a division in the Department of Agriculture. I mean, that has to be such a cool moment to see the staff, the dollars, the impact. I mean, that's got to be neat. There's probably few people in this state that actually get to see this full circle moment the way you two do.
Absolutely. That was a government program that was started out of someone's vision. Without vision, we perish. And over the years, it's become a national model. It's saved lives. It's helped change lives. And this is one of those government programs that it's working. And so it's permanent now, and it will continue to work.
Excellent. I love it. Great stuff.
Yeah, phenomenal. Well, Brandon, we could talk all day, but we all have more things to get to. I don't know if anybody's heard, but there's like Thanksgiving and annual meeting, just a few things happening. You've got North American. We've got a couple boards meeting next week, so we are going to let you go. But before we do, if anyone is interested in anything, Ag Development Fund, anything with the Kentucky Office of Ag Policy, where's the best place they can find that information?
Just go online, KentuckyDepartmentOfAgriculture.com. Just hit Kentucky Policy, and then everything pops up. If you want ag development, all the guidelines and policies are there. Ag finance, it explains that. If you want Dale's department, hit Raising Hope. It's all right there.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. We can't thank you enough for coming up here.
Thank you all so much. It's been a blessing. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Brandon, and thank you, listeners. Be sure to listen to our other episodes, and we'll see you next time on Let's Get Rural.